So every week we come in here and we try to advance our spiritual awareness. And the goal, the hope, yes, that's true. And our goal is always to cultivate new ways that we can manage life, our day-to-day life, and to manage it more effectively. And every week, our goal is to learn to navigate from the highest place within us so we can actually live a more peaceful life and not be stressed. And while I know we all show up here on Sunday and we all make an effort to have relationships here with people and maybe provide a peaceful presence and maybe express compassion for one another, and I get how good we are at that here, my suspicion is that we are not doing that every day, all week. And that's what we need to think about. Whatever we feel and experience here has to be sustained all the time. At the very least, we could enhance our ability to awaken to spiritual understanding in any given moment. Unity minister and author Winifred Wilkinson Hossman once wrote, "The awakening of our own faculty of understanding starts with questioning. Questioning the old ways we think that we may have taken for granted. Wondering about the way and the truth, desiring to know. And above all else, desiring to know spiritual truth." So there's intellectual truth and there's spiritual truth. And usually we get in trouble with intellectual truth because we think we have all the answers, but we don't go within to find the right answers. So I want to begin with two questions for you to ponder today. The first one is, what observations am I making every day related to people and experiences? And the second one is, where could I make adjustments in my thinking to operate from a higher perspective? So what are you observing every day, and what adjustments could you make? Now, making adjustments is where today's topic comes in, cultivating kaleidoscope consciousness. And I don't want to assume everyone knows what a kaleidoscope is, so I'm going to take a moment just to remind you. And I've spoken about a kaleidoscope consciousness in the past, but not in the way I am today. So I'm going to just ask you, if you remember me saying this, to listen with a different ear today. It's been a number of years. So a kaleidoscope, when you were a kid, if you ever saw a kaleidoscope, it was a cylinder. And it has a little piece, a viewing piece at one end. And at the very end, the bottom end, it has colored pieces of glasses in the bottom with 3 mirrors in triangle form on top of the glass. And when you turn the kaleidoscope, the view of those pieces of glass changes in terms of colors and patterns. It takes very little effort with a kaleidoscope, if you ever remember having one, to make that adjustment. But every single time you are looking at something new, it is never the same. And those patterns change, and you never get them back exactly the way you thought. And it's really wonderful because kaleidoscope consciousness is that spiritual aspect of being able to transform what we see into something more beautiful. And in order for us to get to that place, we have to be open, flexible, and willing to shift our thinking in any moment without controlling and without judging what we're seeing. Now, I'm going to just give you a little exercise in a minute, but I want to share with you yesterday. So Friday, I went to Gainesville. I drove up there, spent the night, took my nephew and his girlfriend. You met my nephew, Robbie. He's been here before with one of his roommates. And he's from Denver. He's up at school there. I took them to dinner, met his girlfriend, and then checked into the hotel. My mind is racing on the hour's drive. I'm thinking all the things I've got to be able to pull off on Saturday. But in the moment, sitting in front of my nephew and his girlfriend, I thought, stop, shift your consciousness right now. Take your own advice. Shift your consciousness. What do you see? Two young people in front of you, a young person sitting next to me, and these beautiful souls who are the future of this world that I need to give time and energy to. Okay? My nephew's going through a hard time. His mother is on her final months of life, and he looks to me for that kind of advice. So I was in a great place. Next day, it's morning, drive Melody to school, make sure, that she's on campus and finds her class for the day. And my nephew and I said, we're going to go find a place to have coffee, and we're going to work. Well, we couldn't. We decided to talk for the first hour and a half and catch up privately without his girlfriend, right? And then we said we're going to work. So we worked from 10:30 to 12:20. Then it was time to take his friends to lunch and talk to them about their internships and how I might be able to help. Then it was time to pick Melody up from the class at 3:30 and drive all the way back. Okay, all day long yesterday, I realized I needed to do two things. Ask myself, what do I need in this moment? And how can I change my mind? Instead of worrying about all the work I still had to do for today, I knew I could come home worst case late and do it. And it would all be okay, but I didn't want to miss the moment I was in. And that's what I want you to be thinking about is we have a tendency in every situation, we allow our mind to wander. And what we're wandering to is usually being captured by this camera through the eyesight, right? And the mind's eye, which is back there saying, do you know you're supposed to be doing something else? Did you forget this? Did you remember to pack that? Do you know where you're supposed to be? Look at the texts on your phone. Look at the phone calls. And all this stuff starts to distract us. And the how that we're usually dealing with is the meaning that we're assigning to whatever's happening, and it's always attached to our emotions around it. So if the what is derived from images and the how is derived from the attachment we have to it and the emotions, then how do we get to that place where we stop telling these stories to ourselves that are not useful? Simply not useful. They're robbing us of joy every single day. So I want you to try this. I want you to take a moment and think about a situation where you were completely disappointed and frustrated in the way someone treated you. Get it really big in your mind. Picture it. And I want you to think about all the emotion that you have around it. And now I'm going to ask you to reflect for a moment on how many times you replay that scene in your mind. And how much bigger it gets every time. Every time you recall it, it's worse. You were a victim. You were hurt. You're upset. And see all the images and the words and the actions. Okay, stay with that thought and move on with me. So over time, all the anger and the frustration turned into complete emotional pain. And all the images we store and the narratives around that just keep causing us agony. And in these painful scenarios, the images and the emotions create victimization. We have become the victim of our thinking. But if we could look at these experiences with greater curiosity and not be certain that we're right about what exactly happened or what we think actually happened, we'd actually be able to go within and skip out of here, go within and listen for inner wisdom and ask ourselves questions like how we could shift our perspective and this story could help us. How could this story help us, teach us, create an empowered us? Instead of us being in that sorrow and that victim mentality. Then maybe what we choose to recall would change because of where we put our attention. And that's what kaleidoscope, the definition of a kaleidoscope is. That a scene, a situation, or experience that keeps changing because it has many aspects. So the one we recall, it's always the painful one. Few people recall the joyful ones. The joyful ones, we can't let those become our preoccupation. Let's put our attention on the ones that cause us the most pain. And so if we're doing that, we're not taking time to adjust our thinking. What is this teaching me? How can I advance my spiritual awareness? If we could make the adjustment in our consciousness and rearrange the images, that shift then in our picture, in our mind, and the narrative would allow us to detach from the emotions that we have assigned to it. Now, I get it. We all have a lifetime of memories to revisit. But in further developing our consciousness to a higher level, we need to be reminded that we are choosing what to focus on. It is a conscious choice. You see the bad in everybody or you see the good in everybody. Or you see the bad and you change it to good. Or you recognize you've been hurt, but you don't let that hurt seep into where it's dimming your light. See, because the minute our light gets dim, we sink into that place of wanting to stay dim. And we all know what darkness looks like. We've all experienced it. We get to decide where to illuminate, what we're going to place our attention on. If we cultivate a kaleidoscope consciousness, not only are we helping each other, helping ourselves every day, but we're helping each other. And think about how often you feel stuck trying to make a decision. You've got a mega decision to make or a plan to put together. And we're constantly stuck because we can only see the pieces the way we know them. But if we adjust, if we take time to adjust, our emotions come off of that. And we're actually just able to see what the right choice is because we're coming from a place within us. Now, if we keep observing emotions and refocus our attention, not only are the decisions and answers revealed, but we start to open our mind's eye to start getting in the practice of shining light on things that are useful. Like, wow, I was nice to do that yesterday, and I had time with people I love. Shift the consciousness. What are you choosing to focus on? We also learn to appreciate the sacredness of unique perspectives and diversity in thinking. You know, spiritual growth doesn't come from clinging to what you know. Spiritual growth comes from us learning to think differently and letting go of what we know. If we only stay with what we know, we'll never grow. We'll be stuck forever in the same, it's like the needle on the record, right? It's stuck. And the same thing goes round and round playing. But if we're going to live with a kaleidoscope consciousness, we have to walk through life like spiritual explorers without all these rigid beliefs we've attached to, where we can greet each moment as a chance to see the world from a new angle and find meaning in unexpected places and experiences, and meet new people instead of always referring to the people we know will say what we want to hear. When we adopt a kaleidoscope consciousness, we also begin to understand we are both the observer and the artist. So we can observe, but we can create. We can create and we can observe. And if we're not the artist, we're only observing the same picture. So it's our choice to keep looking at the old stories, the old images, or choosing to make an adjustment. But that requires shifting ourselves to more time for reflection and insight, shifting the shapes of understanding, deepening our faith, and helping us to live at a higher consciousness. You know, I truly believe that if we cultivated a consciousness that gave us a visual like this, we would not only become greater instruments for God's good in this world, but we would become the brightest light. Our light within us would become brighter with every day, and we would create an amazing and unified, illuminated image, not only of ourselves and those around us, but that would be like the ripple effect through the whole world. But it has to start somewhere. I want to read this to you. Clergyman Henry Ward Beecher said this back in the 1800s. Our days are a kaleidoscope. Every instant, a change takes place in the contents. New harmonies, new contrasts, new combinations of every sort. Nothing ever happens twice alike. The most familiar people stand each moment in some new relation to each other, to their work, and to surrounding objects. And this is my favorite part, and I'm going to read it twice because you need to really understand it. The most tranquil house with the most serene inhabitants, living upon the utmost regularity of system, is yet exemplifying infinite diversities. So what he's telling us, even if you have the perfect house and the perfect people and everything works as normal, it is still changing at all times because nothing is ever the same. Let's review our lessons for today. Cultivating a kaleidoscope consciousness requires us to observe shifting patterns in our mind and appreciate all of them in their unique beauty. Number 2, to engage in curiosity versus certainty, knowing that every perspective will add wisdom. Number 3, release all rigid beliefs and invite our own transformation. And number 4, reflect and integrate change. and deepen our faith and our understanding. Our affirmation is, I am cultivating a kaleidoscope consciousness. Let's say that together. I am cultivating a kaleidoscope consciousness. And our quote is from James Allen. The world is your kaleidoscope in the varying combinations of colors, which at every succeeding moment it presents to you are the exquisitely adjusted pictures of your ever-moving thoughts. Let's take that in. So we pause now to reflect upon the blessings of a kaleidoscope consciousness, where in any given moment we change our thinking, change where we focus our attention, and change how it's impacting us. And so we say, thank you, God, for creating us as unique individual beings with the ability to change our thoughts. Amen.